Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Okay. It doesn't appear there's any board members on Zoom at all.
That's correct.
Good. Okay, good evening and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, August the 2nd, 2021. All board members are present in the room. Two are absent and will not be on Zoom. Okay, would you please rise and join me in saying the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there anyone from the public present who would like to make public comments to the Board of Supervisors for non-agenda items? If you would please, sir, come up. If you would state your name for the record, if you would please. And you have to speak pretty clearly into that mic.
My name is Christopher Scott. I'm a resident of East Lampeter. I wanted to bring to the board about Eagle disposal and the lack of service that we've received as a community from Eagle.
And concerns specifically.
Well, if I stand correct, if I'm incorrect, but East Lampeter has a recycling ordinance, and we received notification today that they are eliminating their recycling program.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so as a you're receiving service from them, they sent you a letter or some sort of notification.
Yep, and they haven't been picking up our trash.
Okay, haven't been picking up your trash at all.
Correct. Well, they'll skip a week, they'll pick up recycling. Next week they'll pick up trash. Back.
Okay.
So, and the community is still getting billed for full service.
I think we have had some other
We have.
complaints come forward.
We've had a number of complaints over the last 3 to 4 weeks that have come into our office, as well as we've talked with Eagle themselves about the issue. And I believe that the board will consider looking at the next steps with the recycling ordinance and the trash waste disposal ordinance.
Is it the township that issues Eagle a permit to operate within the township?
Under ordinance 258, the township issues a collection permit for the haulers. And then you as a resident have the right to consider all of those that have a collection permit.
Good. Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate your concern, Mr. Scott. And as staff has said, we will be looking at this a little bit more seriously. Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone on Zoom? Any public questions on Zoom? Email through. Okay, great. All right. Anyone else? Non-agenda items. Okay. All right. Thank you. Item number 4. We have a public hearing on a zoning district amendment for our business park district. We have public hearing is beginning here at 7:35. We have advertised this and postings have been made to the public. So we have an applicant who is interested in approaching the board. So please, Mark.
Evening. Wallace and Eric. And I'm here tonight representing my property. With me tonight, Ken Burnett from sites and Brad O'Brien, my property, and my colleague, Barbara Chen. Tonight, we're here to ask for consideration approval of a petition to amend the business partners regulations. This is really the last step in a fairly lengthy process involving staff meetings, informal presentation of the planning commission, and the supervisors, plan code processes involving petition, reference that to the planning commission, county planning commission, recommendation for approval. Township Planning Commission. We're ending up with clear and objective ordinance that's easy to provide the flexibility that we are looking for, facilitate the continued development of greenfield and regions for them to be from a chronological perspective. Really started back in 2013. Staff to prepare, process, and adopt the business park district regulation. Well over a year ago, staff discussed some of the specific concerns that are incorporated. We had a formal discussion with this planning commission about tax on multi-family and also manufactured housing. Planning commission said they support a move the cap to the multi-family, would not support housing. Primarily tied to more efficient use of the land and better utilization of those informal discussions took place earlier this year in January, held with the planning commission supervisors. And then staff and several prepared the draft, prepared the petition, shared that with staff, got their comments, and then returned the petition. LCTC has recommended approval. They were very complimentary. Petition, I thought, closely and staff. Some of the excellent. Pointed out that it is growth factor, consistent with all applicable comprehensive plans. On July 13th, a presentation to the township plan unanimously recommended approval of the text. We also had recommendation met with the school, brought them up to school, discussed the petition, what the petition sought to achieve. We talked about demographics. They very much appreciated our outreach to them. Simply asked that we keep them up to speed with any changes that are made to our proposed construction schedule. Proposed text amendment really has four things. First, removes the minimum lot size, that's a minimum density of 75 units. It also expresses the landowner seek to exceed that 75. preparation of tonight's hearing, looking at because suggestion here, it actually provides 70% more ground than that. Because we're not looking to be expensive. The second component is that it increases the cap from what I think is from 775 to 800. May seem like a unique number. It has a number of different components. We were here the last time and discussed supervisors. There was concern about everything up. There were thoughts that that's where this is headed. And the Department of Education first, but at the same time, benefits really. So where we got all the new 15%. And then took that number and utilized the suggestion that supervisor Dex utilized cap. That utilize outside the situation. And then we looked at aspirational density number of 15. Start with the year, this is not what's take 40% of that. So that's not a number. Harris smiling because Blackboard, different occasions. Wasn't that bad, but at a certain level, we had a lot of different numbers floating on. The third component of the text amendment is, and this is historical. There are separation distances. I think and fourth, we were looking to increase the number of is that proposed units must be in close proximity to established or extended greenway, trail network. Play, we want to make sure that units that are being proposed are close proximity. So those are the four components.
Questions? Go ahead. Okay. Looks great. Appreciate the explanation, Mark, on how you got to the 3,700 units. Makes complete sense. Glad there's no blackboard around the area. Yeah, you could do that, couldn't you?
Trying to get.
That's good. That's good. No, I think you've heard from this board. You've heard from our planning commission. You're taking the tone of where we are, and staff have worked very closely with all of you to achieve what we as a board have been setting out before them as to what our goals would be. So I think the results of all of that, and I'm glad you went back to the beginning of our conversations, Mark, in 2013, when we were looking at the BP. And, the High family was here, and they were looking for, a collaborative relationship with the municipality on a very long-term plan for what we could do with this parcel. I think Township has been working, this board has been working very closely with a tremendous business owner in the community to make sure that this vision is achieved, and it benefits and it works for everyone. And then finally, to know that the school board was favorable to the conversation and what you were doing there is also encouraging, because leading up to 2013, it was a little bit of a different tone that was coming from the school board, the school district at that time. And I think we all see that there's a win-win for everybody. Good. Well, we will keep the lines of communication going with the school district throughout all this. Questions, comments, final concerns? Anything else? Anybody else? Representatives? Anybody? Ken? Okay. It's a legislative matter. We can take what was presented to us, and we can wait to a future meeting. We can act now. I'm open to a motion. If there's a motion, if you want to move forward, we can do that.
I would move we approve the business park zoning district amendment.
Second. And, motion's been made by Glenn, seconded by Ethan. Is there any public comment? Anything coming through at all, staff? Nothing emailed?
No.
Public comment? Anyone in the room? There's a motion on the table. Hearing none. Okay. Since there's none of the board members are on Zoom, just take an overall vote here. So those in favor of the motion on the table? Aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Excellent. Great. Yes. 3-0. Excellent. That's great. Thank you, staff. Thank you. It's great. Well, we look forward to it, gentlemen. So everyone, please understand as we move forward and that parcel continues to develop, creativity that you bring to these plans, the visions that you bring, continue to benefit the community. So we look forward to what that looks like. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate that. Okay. We will close the public hearing on the BP zoning amendment and move on to the next part of our agenda. So we have the item number 5, our consent agenda. We have several items here. Let me just get my notes. Okay, as part of the consent agenda, we have the approval of the minutes of the Monday, July 19th, 2021 regular meeting. We have approval to pay invoices from all funds, a total of $250,767.54. There are several items of note. $16,211.16 to Lancaster Area Sewer Authority for sewer billing for 588 EDUs. $15,756 to Aquaflow Pump and Supply for Omnivore Grinder Relay Kit for the fertility pumping station number 2. $14,656.55 to Town Planning Partners. That's the final payment for the Bridgeport Crossroads study. $13,555 to McMahon Associates for engineering associated with the Route 30 streetscape improvements. $9,570.35 to PPL Electric Utility for electric service. $6,784.20 to Alpha Space Control Company for 2021 traffic line painting. $6,331.65 to Highway Materials Incorporated for asphalt material. $5,626.97 to the Lancaster County Tax Collection Bureau Real Estate Tax Group for Gibbons Park and Knoll Mill properties. And finally, $4,723.50 to Evoqua Water Technologies for 1675. Is that a gallon?
Yes.
1,675 gallon bioxide for sewage odor control. Okay, any public comments about the consent agenda? On Zoom and no email, correct? Okay, okay. All right, hearing no public comment, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion is made by Ethan and seconded by Glenn. Any comments?
One quick comment,
Mhm.
as I noted at the last meeting and given Act 65, I think we should add to our consent agenda in the future approval of the agenda.
Okay, so Ethan is requesting that in response to Act 65 that we
We should be doing it anyway.
put onto our consent agenda
We really should.
the approval of the agenda for the evening's meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay, okay, good. All right, then a motion for the consent agenda have been seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, under old business, we have none. Under new business, 7A, we have a discussion for a possible amended conditional use for 2601-2603 Lincoln Highway East for Quarry View Construction. And we have a representative here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. And for the record, my name is Matt Crean, and I am counsel for the applicant in this matter. Ben King, the applicant, is here this evening, and Mark Hackenberg. Give us an introduction to put us in the proper place in our process with the township. The board granted conditional use approval for the property that I think we finally decided is going to be 2601. Lincoln Highway East.
2603.
2603. Okay, I knew I was going to get that wrong, but it has both addresses variously in the records. And we're in the process of now implementing the conditional use approval granted by this board, which will lead to a land development plan submission. But before submitting engineering and submitting a land development plan application, we need to settle on a layout for the site. And we did anticipate that we would encounter some things at this stage of the process that maybe we didn't know or didn't fully understand in the conditional use proceeding. And what Mark will do is review with you the layout plan that was part of our presentation in the conditional use proceeding, and then review with you a plan that has some of the divisions from that plan. And our goal at this point is to get the reaction of the board to those revisions, a determination of what the impact of those revisions may be, and then set the path forward from there.
Before you jump in, Mark, if I can, hold on. So board comfortable hearing the presentation of the existing use, the proposed use for that, and perhaps maybe seeing a slight revision to what that plan would look like. Glenn, Ethan, concerns, questions?
Since it's not a public hearing, what exactly are we doing?
Mhm.
Just hearing?
This is in the nature of a merchandise for you. One of the conditions that the board imposed at our request was to allow the board an opportunity to consider revisions to the layout plan as presented to use, and then direct whether, in your opinion, they are material and should require us to return to a conditional use hearing, or whether they should proceed as part of the land development plan process. And again, it's really a matter of timing on when you, the same decision maker,
Mhm.
would approve everything
Mhm.
on the plan.
Now, staff, Tara, is that the way that Mr. King is presenting it? Any concerns?
I don't have any concerns.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Mark.
Drawings that I first one. This is the plan that was reviewed as part of the conditional use hearing. The second one represents some modifications for the purpose of our review and discussion this evening.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
So the first plan that's first plan that we're looking at is basically a plan that was presented at the public hearing. It represents 13 apartment spaces and basically contains accessory buildings, which ultimately were determined to be construction yard, considered to be accessory to the office, construction office use on the property. So the staff had presented some concerns during that conditional use hearing process. We heard those concerns and chose to sit down with them and just kind of work through some details, largely related to the structure, and the fact that doors were opening toward Route 30, and secondary concern was also the parking space. So although we felt we met the parking requirements of the ordinance, we went back and we took another look into what we have to do to address these concerns. So the first page represents, like I said, represents the sketch that we prepared for the conditional use. And I'll ask you to look to the second page. And that second page is an adaptation. The building, what we had always described as the tobacco shed style structure that would enclose or provide enclosure for trucks and storage materials on the property, is largely in the same position. What you're seeing represented on this plan is sort of the gray represents paved surface areas. Those paved surface areas have been reevaluated much more closely by Ben and his team in the operations. And in order for them to address the concern about open doors on the front side of the building, the only way we could really solve that issue with turning movements is to secure an easement from the neighboring property owner. So Ben had approached the neighboring property owner about what is depicted here as proposed easement number one. It's the triangular eastern half, in essence, half of the property. and is proposing to convey to him a permanent easement for continuity of farming on the reciprocal triangle in the western portion of the property. So for the exchange of use, what we're looking at is the intent to establish turning movements, establish yard space in the back. And in essence, this is the area that at one time had been occupied by the previous tobacco shed when it had been sitting on the back portion of the property. So although the original subdivision line never respected that, this is the portion of the property that at one time was disturbed, and it was part of the sort of circulation and operation around the original farmstead. So the primary intention here is to actually gain some additional parking spaces, which are we're able to pick up that 8 spaces off to the left-hand side of the structure. We've done some redistribution of parking. So in essence, there's about 4 total. Yeah, there's 17 parking spaces represented, but I would suggest there's still opportunities to park up against some of the buildings and actually add some or represent some additional parking capacity. We certainly wouldn't want to strike it that way, but there is more parking capacity on this site than the 17 spaces that are represented. And primarily the reason for respecting the not adding more parking is to respect the circulation routes adjacent to the various structures. So this is a much more refined assessment of turning movements and vehicular access to the various points of the building. Now that Ben has a better understanding of how he's going to use the structure, including access along the front portion of the 4-bay adjacent to the bank barn. We had discussions, I think, during the hearing about whether or not that would be used. And frankly, at the end of the day, in order to make the most efficient use of that first floor of the barn, it's logical that we need access along that front face as well. So there has been further refinement to the paved surfaces, the circulation demands, and frankly, these are the changes that, although we believe that the conditional use plan and the condition clearly indicated that the board would be willing to, or the board would be allowed to make land development approval subject to some conditions. Staff felt that some of the modifications were significant enough that we should come back before you and hear your present the options and hear your concerns. Yeah, so what Matt's referring to is in this particular location here, in order to get to these parking spaces, the dark green spaces, you have to navigate around the structure. We didn't have enough space here to make navigation and still get parking. So, from a circulation standpoint, these were primarily employee parking spaces. These front spaces would be more than guest and from business component.
How much more impervious, Mark, are we talking about? And do your, well, I guess let me frame it this way. How much more tension do you need? Is everything you proposed there going to maintain? Can you move the water off that same space with everything we were proposing before? Yeah.
Have about 15,000 square feet more impervious cover. And I will say the solution where we're adding parking to the back portion, yes, it's certainly going to create some drainage and runoff challenges, but frankly, we've talked to David Miller a little bit about those solutions. We're probably going to end up with some underground or subsurface conditions in the back and or possibly piping to the front to a discharge location. The primary location where we have defined grades or defined condition, water leaving the property backyard. So water that's the increase in runoff is being generated in the back.
Stop. Okay.
We're confident we can figure it out. It's definitely flat. It's going to be a challenging solution, but I'm confident that we can figure out a range for the additional.
Okay.
So, board, over the span of years, done on it. So, develop the first condition on almost every approval. And what we have learned is that when do the zoning, that was one. But now we're going to some management and the building code and then um,
Mhm.
so we have modified that. Modification to the non-material don't require returning for but can be processed through the land development plan. And there's some basis to the law.
Mhm.
So and we need to this revised plan is not interfere with the 2.5 acres of property that was conveyed in an active use, and nothing in this revised plan will violate the storage of materials of construction being closed. The only thing you'll see outside is passage. So with a conditional use, as you know, ultimately you make the decision and you are the same decision maker on the land. We're suggesting to you that nothing about the use of the property is changing. What may be changing is how we're going to construct and operate essentially the accessory features of the use. How we move vehicles through the site.
Mhm.
Doesn't change the character of the use. It is therefore non. And therefore, we don't need to schedule a separate hire a reporter. We can proceed to land development. And you can see how, once it's fully engineered, we would implement these, what we consider non-material revisions, and you can decide or not to approve it when you get to the
Land development. Mhm. Okay. Thank you, Matt, for that presentation. Glenn, Ethan, questions, concerns?
Did I understand you to say that the change in the boundary of this an easement, it's not a land swap or?
It is not a land swap. And one of the things that is happy with this layout because it doesn't have any short run. The right view, and the right.
For a specific purpose, yes. Answer your question, Glenn?
Yeah.
Ethan?
Couple quick questions. What was walk me through why you can't have the doors on the front of that tobacco shed? I don't see any need to move them to the back. And then the other question was, why do we need, because I know we talked about parking with the previous sort of site layout as presented. Do you really need the extra parking in the back? Or could you, I mean, in other words, if you could move the doors to the front, and would you need all of that extra impervious around the back of the building.
This isn't something that. Mostly because.
There was one thing,
You're good. Yep.
there's one thing that wasn't really discussed yet that was also a piece of the puzzle here. We had, I'm done by the way, thank you. We have trouble accessing the upper level of the barn without the easement. There's no turn radius to get up there. So we weren't able to secure the easement prior to the conditional use approval. So kind of had to take it a step at a time. Got the use approval first, then went to the farmer. All right, so we got the use approval. You consider an easement here. We got that. So we could work with the doors in the front. It's better to have them in the back. And if we're going to do this anyway, it would make sense. It makes a lot more sense for the flow. But this really, not having the easement really kind of rendered the second floor of the barn useless. You just can't make the turn up there. So does that answer all the questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering on the current, I don't know what you considered running your truck around the east side of the barn and then back in.
To get up here, the second floor.
Mhm.
What's the same story here? The property line literally is at the very bottom of the barn hill.
Okay.
So in order to get up there,
It's just too tight.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
Just the rate.
On Google Maps, you see there is a road, but I don't know if an 18-wheeler can fit on it.
Yeah.
so the road is actually on part of it is on his property. So the property line strikes about halfway through it. And that road was actually meant to give access to the milk house in the back, not to get up to the.
To get up to the barn,
Right,
you just wouldn't have the turning radius.
right.
Yeah. Ethan, answer your question.
Yeah, I mean, those are just my thoughts on is if you don't need the parking, I think the parking you had on the original plan meets any requirements. If you think you need a few more, that's fine. I don't really care where the doors are, whether it's the front or the back. And that accessing the second floor of the big barn makes sense. Because that's a key to not storing things outside.
Yeah, that's right.
We did really have Greg Scott's approval as well on moving to the back. He had some ideas on how to really make the front of the back of barn really appealing. So he was excited about this plan to the back. So everybody involved was like,
Yeah.
thumbs up.
Yeah, if I recall, Ethan, was that it? I'll cut you off. Yeah. If I recall, all three of those issues, I think there's three. We did dance around all of them. Do you have enough parking for where you could see it going? Can you keep some aesthetic there? The doors in the back, do you have turning radius? Those are all things that we're still hanging out there when we walked away from this last time. I'm not hearing anything here that says, I think we have to have a public hearing that's going to open this whole thing up again. I just don't. I mean, there's just not material. There's just not much. It's really changing here. You're addressing some of the issues that we had talked about before. In my estimation, we're improving those things, and the impact upon that adjoining property, these easements, I just don't see us impacting that adjacent property in a significant enough way that we need to have a full-blown public hearing to do this. But
Yeah, I mean, if you move the building into the easement, I think that's a material change. But having a driveway in a zoned ag parcel, I think is fine. There's plenty of driveways in ag zones.
yeah,
Yeah, we would still be in the setback there for the 6 foot from the property.
yeah.
Will the access to the bank barn use the same amount of the easement as the going through the river at the back shed? And how will that, I'm assuming that'll be a stoned in area?
Up here, Stone area?
Yeah, you just said you need more of the easement to get the radius into the back of the bank point.
Yes.
How much easement will you be using for that? That'll be a stoned in area, correct?
Yeah, a large portion of it. I
Correct.
think this is about 111 feet approximately. So if you're taking a trailer up there or even a pickup truck, you're coming around something like this.
Okay. Some aesthetic borders.
The one thing the farmer requested is to not fence it,
To not fence it.
right? Because that would defeat the whole purpose of not having the point rows. So we would be allowing him to like drive onto the parking lot, do turnarounds.
Turn his team around or something on
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Okay.
Most of the time, it's nothing's going to be there.
Yeah.
We had discussion with Tara about the doing fencing separations there, and just put it out there that he really does not want it at all.
No, understand. Sure. Mhm. 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 Okay. 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 Anything else? Ben, Mark? Tara?
So staff felt that this was substantial enough to obviously bring it back to you for at least discussion,
Mhm.
because it's not only the impervious that's surrounding the proposed tobacco barn, but the gravel area that's then behind that onto the adjoining property owner who will be affected with
Mhm.
stormwater.
Mhm.
The use extends beyond the property line that you approved the use for.
Mhm.
And so staff felt that we need to bring it back to you.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. I don't think we wouldn't have wanted to see it. I think it was beneficial that we see it and understand it. Sure. Understand. Yeah. I don't see anything here that's keeping me from supporting this moving forward. Glenn, anything?
Does our township still consider stoned in areas as pervious?
As impervious,
As impervious?
that's correct. Impervious.
I thought page three.
That was included. in the
So
15,000.
it almost makes sense to blacktop that area.
Very likely it'll be, I don't know that it's going to be actual gravel. We might do some recycled macadam or something like that. We want a pretty hard surface,
Mhm.
but just for the cost factor, it'd be nice not to grab.
You still get the same sheeting.
Now,
Still get the
will
same amount.
will the coverage area in the easement area be considered part of the property?
The impervious area that is on the farm will be counted towards the farm.
Is the farmer aware of that?
Of the stormwater implications.
Yeah.
We had discussions about it and we showed all this stuff to comment on his understanding of the big picture. I don't know his his scenario, exactly what's going on with their property. So we didn't comment or talk about that extensively.
And the impervious area on Mr. Stoltz's, the farm property would be charged to him as well for the stormwater fee.
That's why I was concerned. He's very clear of the impact on his property.
It's a good question, Glenn. That's a good question. Does this easement come with cost and expense ongoing to him? It does, because of the stormwater fee. Is he aware of that? Is he embracing that, understanding it? I'm assuming that that's what your conversations. Okay. Land development. Yeah. Pursue it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Okay. So, gentlemen, do we need to do anything on this, or was this just an information gathering session? Tara?
This is an information gathering session for discussion only.
Okay.
There's no action.
Okay. No action. Okay. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that. Thanks for your time. Okay, moving on to item number 8, action items 8A. We have the adoption of the Bridgeport Crossroads Study.
Correct. We have the final study in our hand. So we ask the board that they adopt the study.
Oh, okay.
So moved.
Official. So moved by Glenn.
Is that one on the website yet? It wasn't last time I looked.
It is not. We actually just got delivery of it
Okay,
Friday.
So this is
Friday?
just the print copy of the
Yes.
one
It
they
is the printed
presented at the
copy.
meeting.
June 28, 2021 is the day of this, Ethan. So this would
Right,
be
but it's-
after the hearing that we were, I'm assuming this is the information that was presented at that. Our meeting was before June 28th. Oh, no, sorry. June 20th.
Yeah, that was the June
Sorry.
20th meeting.
Sorry, yeah.
So I reviewed the Zoom meeting for that, or the YouTube.
Okay,
Second,
okay. The proposal has been motioned by Glenn and second by Ethan for adoption of the Bridgeport Crossroads Study. Questions or concerns? Public? Nothing from the public? Nothing in email. Okay. No? Okay, hearing none. Those in favor?
aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, staff. Excellent. A lot of work and time went into that. Okay, 8B. Staff is seeking authorization to distribute the Conestoga Valley Park and Recreation Plan and the Bridgeport, Crossroads Study for our planning partners, which would be West Earl, Upper Lake Cock, and Conestoga Valley.
It would be all of our planning partners. So all of our planning partners as part of the CV region.
County, CB,
And the
LIMC.
Yeah,
Okay, all right,
and the school district.
okay. We can make a motion? Make a motion?
So move.
Okay, moved by Ethan, seconded by Glenn. Questions or concerns from the public? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Wonderful. A lot of great work coming out of the staff. So thank you, Tara, you and your team. Item number 9, the manager's report.
The MS4 update. So we have a number of PRP projects that are looking to move forward. The hack project, they have now shown interest in having a Zoom meeting to start that project up again. If you recall, that kind of came to a halt with COVID and getting on the site was an issue. We are also working with Pi on a potential project over in the business park. We are also working on the design of Greenfield and Eastland. That is coming across from Bridington.
There between 340 and
Yeah,
Lincoln
between
Highway.
340 and Lincoln
Brighton,
Highway.
Brighton,
Brighton,
Brighton.
sorry.
Mhm.
So coming across from there and then traveling down the backside of Eastland, and we have all but one property owner that we need to get in contact with that are on board with that project. So we do have a number of things, irons in the fire, as you would say, for PRP projects. We did receive the report from F&M in regards to the dams along Mill Creek. And so we're evaluating how much sediment we can remove from those dams if those dams were to be breached.
And the township would get credit for the historic sediment that's built up behind there.
We are working on setting up a meeting with DP and Lancaster Clean Water Partners to come to an agreement as to how much credit the township would get should we move forward with that project.
And we're talking about two, Gibbons and Fertility.
We are talking about actually F&M found 4 dams.
That's Wonderland, probably.
So there's Gibbons at Amtrak there.
Yeah.
There is an Eshelman Dam, and there's the Dutch Wonderland Dam, and then the Flory Park.
Where's the Ashland Dam?
It is between the Dutch Wonderland and Flory Park. We did not know it was there. And so it may have been half breached at one point.
Is it at
It's not there.
LMH? Is it the LMS?
There's
campus?
a stone, there's a rock that goes across the whole thing at one spot, and then there's rocks, but there's no dam that I'm aware. I mean, I've been up it multiple times.
The LiDAR indicates that there's legacy sediment behind that dam.
It's probably that rock.
There's a pool there. So you don't need a portage over it. It's actually one of the deeper sections of the river right there. It's a probably class 2 rapid. It's really fun to shoot. But it'd be interesting I don't know how you get the sediment out of that, but hey, if we can get sediment out, LiDAR says it's sediment, we take credit.
It does say it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you for continuing to pursue all those projects there. Okay. Anything else? Manager's report. How's our manager doing?
He's recovering.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. That's it. Agenda item number 10. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Moved. Second.
Moved by Ethan, seconded by Glenn. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Scott, before you go, are you interested in serving in any of our boards?